If you've ever been betrayed by the one person who was supposed to have your back, you're in the right place. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button because you're going to want to see how this story ends. Just weeks before my wedding, my little sister announced she was pregnant with my fiancé's baby. My family actually told me to be supportive, but I just knew she was lying. So, I decided to expose her. And I made sure the whole family was there to see it. My name is Scarlett, and honestly, up until a few months ago, I really thought I had it all. I'm 30 with a career I love, a beautiful home, and a fiancé, Mark, who was everything I'd ever dreamed of. He was kind, successful, and treated me like gold. We were planning this perfect wedding, and everything just felt right. Almost too right. The only real issue in my life was my relationship with my younger sister, Stephanie. To our parents, Stephanie was the golden child. She was the bubbly, outgoing one, while I was always the quiet, responsible one. They babied her well into her 20s, making excuses for every mistake. While I was busy building my life, Stephanie was perpetually finding herself on our parents' dime. What they didn't see, or maybe just chose to ignore, was how jealous she was of me. Every time I succeeded, she'd hit me with a backhanded compliment. My happiness just seemed to make her miserable. It got so much worse when I brought Mark home. I saw the way she'd look at him. How her laugh was always a little too loud when he was around. But I told myself I was just being paranoid. I wanted to believe that my sister, despite everything, would never cross that line. I was wrong. The bomb dropped at a family dinner, just 3 weeks before the wedding. We were all there celebrating, laughing. The mood was great. And then Stephanie stood up. Her hand was shaking as she held up her glass, but she wasn't making a toast. Tears started welling up in her eyes. She looked from me to Mark, and her voice trembled as she said the words that just shattered my entire world. "I have an announcement," she said, her voice cracking with fake drama. "I'm pregnant." Confused congratulations started to bubble up, but she cut them off. She looked right at Mark. "It's yours." The silence was so thick you could feel it. Everyone's eyes just bounced between the three of us. I stared at Mark, waiting for him to laugh or deny it, to say anything. But he just sat there, his face completely white, and he couldn't even look at me. That was the first knife in my back. Of course, my parents rushed right over to Stephanie, hugging her and cooing, while my mom shot me a look that screamed, "Don't you dare cause a scene." They treated her like she was the victim. They told me I needed to be understanding. Understanding? My sister had just lit my life on fire, and I was supposed to what? Hand her the marshmallows? The next few days were a nightmare of phone calls canceling appointments and my family suffocating me with their pressure. They insisted I postpone the wedding, to give everyone time to process. They were completely on her side, acting like Mark's betrayal was just some little oopsie. And Mark, he was a ghost. One minute he was giving me these pathetic apologies, the next he was blaming me for being too emotional. He never once just flat out denied it, and that cowardice was honestly worse than a confession. But once the shock started to fade, this cold, sharp suspicion took its place. Stephanie's story was a little too neat, her sadness a little too theatrical. She'd send me these taunting texts, 1 minute playing the martyr, the next bragging that our family found her more interesting. She was always a manipulator, but this was her masterpiece. I knew in my gut she was lying. I just had to prove it. So I started small. I asked to see the ultrasound picture again. She flashed a blurry photo on her phone, but when I asked for the original, she got all defensive. She claimed to have horrible morning sickness, but would then post photos of herself out eating spicy food with friends. The lies were starting to unravel. That's when I decided I was done being the victim. It felt a little crazy, but I hired a private investigator. My entire future was on the line. In less than 48 hours, he confirmed it all. The ultrasound was a generic stock image you could buy online. The doctor she named didn't exist. He even found messages where Stephanie was trying to get one of Mark's exes to show up an object at our wedding, just to stir up more chaos. She had planned this whole thing. As the investigator kept digging, he found something I'd suspected but never wanted to confirm. Stephanie's whole life was secretly funded by me. For years, I'd been propping her up. That prestigious scholarship she got for college? That was me. I'd set up a trust to pay her tuition. The nice apartment she lived in? I was covering most of the rent through a grant. I did it because my mom begged me to. They were struggling, and I wanted to keep the peace without Stephanie knowing I was her safety net. And now, that secret financial control was about to be my ultimate weapon. This wasn't just about exposing a lie anymore. This was about pulling the rug right out from under her. I put my plan into action. I shocked everyone by announcing the wedding was back on. Mark, pathetic and relieved, didn't ask a single question. I told my family I wanted to host a small rehearsal dinner, just us to reconcile before the wedding. They walked right into my trap. That night, I let them have their moment. Stephanie was glowing, playing the tragic, pregnant victim to perfection. Mark sat next to her like a guilty dog. My parents were all over her. Already talked, I just let them all swim in it. Then it was my turn to make a toast. I stood up, holding a folder. I'd like to say a few words. I started, my voice perfectly calm. I want to talk about family, about loyalty, and about truth. I looked right at Stephanie. For weeks, you've all been asking me to accept a new reality. Well, tonight, I'm going to make sure we all understand the real truth. Her smug little smile disappeared. I opened the folder. First, I pulled out a printout of the stock photo ultrasound. This image is from Getty Images. It costs $49.99, I said. Next came the proof her doctor's office was an empty lot. And the text she sent to Mark's ex Stephanie completely lost it. You're a liar, she screamed, her face twisting in rage. You're just jealous. Am I? I said, pulling out the last set of papers. Let's talk about finances. And then I laid it all out. The scholarship I funded. The trust that paid her rent. Every single cent that bankrolled her lazy, entitled life was now spread across the dinner table. You tried to steal my fiancé and my wedding, I said, my voice ice cold. But you didn't realize that the entire life you were so proud of was a gift from the sister you tried to ruin. The room just exploded. My mother gasped, finally looking at Stephanie in horror and whispering, "How could you?" My dad just sat there, looking like he'd aged 10 years in 10 seconds, the illusion of his perfect daughter completely shattered. Stephanie, totally cornered, had a full-blown meltdown. Through all the screaming and sobbing, she confessed everything. The fake pregnancy, the jealousy, how she couldn't stand living in my shadow. Mark tried to scramble, to apologize, to blame Stephanie, but I just cut him off. You are weak, I told him. You have no spine and you let this happen. We're done. Then I turned to my sister, who was now just begging. The money, it's over. The trust is dissolved. The scholarship is closed. You're on your own. The life she thought she was entitled to had just vanished. I walked out of that room, leaving them in the wreckage of their lies, and I didn't look back. The aftermath was pretty much what you'd expect. My ex-fiancé, Mark, blew up my phone, 1 minute blaming me for humiliating him, the next begging for a second chance. There was no real remorse, he was just mad he got caught. Stephanie's life imploded. Without my money, she had to drop out of college and move out of her apartment. My parents, who suddenly had to actually support her, were completely overwhelmed. The begging phone calls started, but I never picked up. I heard through the grapevine that she and Mark tried to make a go of it, but a relationship built on lies and entitlement fell apart at the first sign of real-world problems. As for me, I took the money I would have spent on that wedding and went on the solo trip of a lifetime. I came back feeling lighter and more free than I have in years. I cut the toxic ties that were weighing me down and found my own strength again. I learned that sometimes, the family you choose for yourself is way more important than the one you're born into, and that protecting your own peace is the most important promise you can ever make. Conclusion and CTA. They say the best revenge is living well. I say the best revenge is quietly building a life so good that the people who hurt you become completely irrelevant. Karma took care of them, but I took care of me. What do you think? Did I go too far, or did she get exactly what she deserved? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories.